Hey guys, and welcome to another heart scripture journey week. And today I have my husband and best friend, Vin, with me today. Vince.
It's an honor to be back.
Vincenzo. There's so many names for you. I could say some other ones, but you get mad at me. So
yeah, don't say those.
Welcome in on a Sunday morning, and Vinny's gonna bring for us a scripture today. And I'm not gonna steal your thunder. Let's do this thing. Go.
Well, it's not about stealing thunder, but we've been tired lately and extremely busy and just weak and to some extent vulnerable. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say more than usual.
And there's a lot of things going on in our life, and God is doing a lot of things. And because God's doing a lot of things, the devil's working like overtime, attacking us, our business, our family, our church. I mean, God's just been faithful through all of it, but you get distracted sometimes and you can become vulnerable. And in that, you realize just how weak we really are. So, when Maymay and I were kind of talking about this a little bit, we talked about weakness and how so many people struggle with not feeling worthy or not feeling able or not feeling capable of sharing their faith. And so when she said that to me about weakness, it just kind of rang a few bells with a couple of different scriptures and a song that I used to really love a long time ago, called His Strength is Perfect.
But not so much about sharing their faith.
No, just going through life in general.
Getting
but I mean, through. You could, include sharing your faith.
I don't
maybe
like
being a witness would be a better way.
Yeah, but I think the way I think the way we were talking about it was more about, after Mom and I did our video, I heard from a lot of people in two different minds. The way they were they were in two different camps. Okay, there's a camp of people that say that's exactly how I felt when I went through my cancer treatments. That's exactly how I felt when I went through my divorce. That's exactly how I felt when I went through financial difficulties. I had a lot of people say that about Mom's video. If you're not familiar with the video I'm talking about, it's last Sunday's video, so you can check that one out on this same channel. But I also had a camp of people who said, I'm not as strong as that. I can't do that. And I heard it a lot. I read it a lot. And then, like Vince told you, we've had we're not talking about we're tired spiritually. We are physically worn out. Like we have done so much in the past couple of weeks, but we're coming up on a slowdown, and we're looking forward to that for about 2 weeks. We can kind of slow down with outside work.
Yeah, maybe
not work, but we were. He was like, we were getting ready for this week's video, and he was like, "What's on your heart?" And I said, you think about it. You do something. And then I turned to walk off and I went, you know what? No, listen. I said, God's been talking to me about weakness and what we're supposed to do with weakness. And so you looked up scripture that you wanted to lean toward that, and you have a couple things to go to it. But I really want to talk to those of you who feel like that weakness is a bad thing.
Yeah, I can see where you're going.
Yeah, because I had some specific questions and comments to me about situations people are going through that I'm not going to touch on their situations, but they're serious situations. And some of the comments even ended in, I can't do this. And I wanted to talk about that. What does God say about you can't do this?
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about what Paul wrote to the Philippians. Mm-hmm. In chapter 4, and the scripture that just kind of jumped out at me was verse 12 and 13. Verse 12, Paul said, I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. And in any and every circumstance, hear that? In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. And then in verse 13, he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He doesn't say that he can do it in his own power, in his own strength. He says, I can do all things, not some things, but everything.
I love that he says, I have learned the secret.
Yeah, and it's so true. You know, so many people spend their time working to gain things. And then so many people spend their time trying to figure out when they don't have things, how to get things. And we spend our time, so much time, on stuff and things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's become one of your favorite terms, stuff and things. You know, it's just stuff and things. But people work so hard to get those things. And then you have people that are going through hardships like what you talked about. And people that say, I just can't do it. No, you're right. You can't do it. And I can't do it. And Maymay can't do it.
But we've learned the secret.
The secret is that I don't have to do it in my strength.
I don't want it to sound like when you said that I say stuff and things all the time. I don't want it to sound like I don't appreciate the things I have. I do appreciate the things I have. But when things are taken away from you, when you lose all your things and you get new things or you get replacement things, it's not the same. And you really have a new understanding of.
Well, you know, we went through the house fire
mm-hmm.
and we lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that we kind of just held on to. It's just stuff and things, you know. None of that stuff matters. We're all still alive. We're all still healthy. And we can keep going.
But I would really love for us to do a discussion about the house fire and all the things God did in it. Because this is a great discussion about that. Because, wow, were we weak. We were broken and didn't know what was going to happen next and didn't know. I mean, literally, and people have been through this, your life's just going along and then boom, you have nothing or everything changes and you have to just roll with the punches. And so I found strength that I didn't know I had. And I know you found strength that you didn't know you had. And actually, your strength helped me, and I think vice versa. But it was interesting how we found strength through Christ and what people would tell us, what people would say to us, how they would give us the encouragement. And they would say to us things like, God's going to use this. God is using this, you know, and remind us of that. So we're not just taught to get through situations. We're actually taught to count it all joy, you know, when we fall into diverse temptations. And when, you know, we're not just supposed to be like, oh, I got through that. But we're supposed to still keep our joy and be happy as we get through it. Because when you shuck it all down to the cob, our joy doesn't come from our circumstance.
That's right.
And that's where we have to, I feel like I'm going back to what Mom and I said, but it's true. And if you feel today you can't do something that's put before you, that's really the first step in accomplishing it, because you've got to acknowledge you can't do it so God can do it.
That's right.
We talked about this before one time. I really focused on letting go and letting God. That's the same we say over and over again in Christianity. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. And people don't really comprehend it. I think we just say it. But we literally have to let go of it and let God. And if we will do that, the beauty of it is it'll come out so much better.
That's right. I mean, everything's better with Him in it, you know, and nothing that I can do or nothing that you can do turns out good without Him, because we can't do anything without Him, but we can do everything with Him.
And we have such a limited mind space. Like we even put God in a box. We even imagine He can only do this, He can only do that. Well, He can do anything. He can do things we can't even come up with. Mm-hmm. Which is what I love. You know, when you've been in a situation and you can't figure out what to do, and then somebody all of a sudden has a light bulb moment. I call it a light bulb moment, where they go, oh, this is what we can do. And they have an idea that's so out there but so feasible. That's how God is. And we don't even know what kind of light bulb moments He can have in our life. What we have to do is, this always sounds, I don't like when people use this terminology, but it's true. We have to get down off the throne of our lives.
Yeah.
You agree?
Oh, yeah.
And stop going, I'm in control, I'm in control, I'm in control. Because listen, if you're in control, you ain't got no control.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's the only way you can say that.
If you're in control, you're out of control.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything. And when situations come against you and they make you tired and they make you weak and they make you worn down and they make you emotionally a wreck or they make you just unable or undone, the only way to be done again is through Christ.
That's right.
You're just agreeing with me.
Well, I mean, what you said's right. So, I mean, my favorite verse is Ephesians 3:20, and he tells us in there that he can do exceeding and abundantly above all I could ask or think. And so why stress myself out about it?
So
let him do it.
How do you do it? We talk about it all the time. We're like, but this can happen, God can do it. And I'm this person who wants to talk about practical application.
Yes, you do.
How do we do it? How do we not just say to people, let go and let God? How do we say, here's how you do it? Like, what would you say to somebody?
I don't know how you can illustrate that
in
a perfect scenario.
How do you do it? How do you do it in your own life? How do you let God be strong in your weakness?
Well, I mean, it's a matter of trust and faith. I mean, it's a matter of believing that he can do that. I mean, if I take his word and I take him at his word, it says he's going to do this, then I have to believe it. And if I don't believe it, then there ain't no way I can let it go and let him do his thing.
You also have to get out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all these things are so cliche.
I'm not good at that part.
So here's the thing. How do you really get out of the way? For me, it's like this. It's not that I forget about the situation. It's not that I stop thinking about solutions to the problem. For me, It's not that I just go, oh, God's got this. I don't need to think about it again. I go to him in prayer, believing that he's going to be able to do whatever he's going to do, and I accept whatever he does. But then instead of wringing my hands with it and not knowing what to do with it and drawing from here and here and here, I just wait for him to tell me, wait for him to show me, wait for him to fix it, right? And where my strength comes in is I go, I don't have to fret about this. I don't have to stay in this. I can have God do it, so I can keep my joy and be happy while God is fixing something until the answer comes.
Right.
So I think it's really hard for people to understand that it's not just like it's kind of like this. You know that song by is it Third Day? Casting Crowns, Between the Altar and the Door.
Yeah. And
it talks about you go to the altar and you lay it all down at the altar, and the problem is we pick it up and take it back with us out the door.
Yeah.
It's that. It's literally going, okay, God, I can't do anything. You're going to have to do this, and I want to be strong through you while this is happening. So I need us to work on this, and you hold me up and you be strong for me. And he will, which is even cooler. Right?
Yeah.
And the cool part about it is, like, we really should talk about the house fire sometime, because during that time, a lot of people pointed out they could see Christ in how we were handling it.
Right.
Because we did let God handle it.
Yeah, I mean, but that...
It doesn't mean we didn't do our legwork.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you have to let God do it.
It's true.
When you're forced to by something like a house fire.
But that's important that you said that, because one of the one of the messages I got is a situation where she's forced to get bitter or get better.
Yeah. She's
forced to. And that's one of those situations where you just have to trust God. You just have to know he has a plan. It involves a death in her life. And she has no choice. It was a final answer. And now she has to get better or get bitter. And bitter, what does bitter do?
Destroys us.
It destroys us.
Eats us up from the inside out.
Who else does it destroy? I want you to think about this. If I just stay in my bitterness, it destroys my relationships with people. Yeah. It destroys my thought process. It destroys everything related to me. But if I get better, it builds me up. It shows Christ through me, and it builds my relationships. And then people can see that I have this love of God because he makes me better. He helps me to keep my joy. And I think that's important. I think we lose it sometimes when we just go, woe is me. There's nothing I can do. I'm in this situation. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, we've all been in lots of terrible situations, all of us. And if we wallow in it, which is, we in the South, we say waller. If we waller in it, then
in other words, we stay in it. We remain in it.
Then we can't.
For those of you think from the South.
We're not even allowing God to do what he says he can do.
Well, and I think, the song that I was talking to you about, His Strength is Perfect by Stephen Curtis Chapman. It says, His strength is perfect when our strength is gone. He'll carry us when we can't carry on. And I love that line. It's very encouraging to me.
I'm going to link the YouTube video of that song below so you guys can hear it. It is a really good song. And since I talked about the Casting Crown song, I'll link it as well so you guys can find it. But I'm just going to challenge you today. If you're in a situation where you feel like you can't do it, I'm just going to challenge you to go to God and acknowledge that with him. Let him, tell him, I can't do it. You're going to have to do it. Let him do it. Yeah. And then say, and for me, I even sometimes will say, I can't wait to see how you're going to handle this. I will say that to him.
Well, yeah. And that's where your faith has been kind of built over the years of seeing him do things and know that
he's going to do something.
If I'll let go of it, if I'll get out of the way and let him do what he wants to do, then it's going to be outstanding.
One of my favorite things to see, and this came from somebody I worked with. We'll end with this. This came from somebody I worked with. When I met her, she was very angry with God. And when you're a preacher's kid, or if your father is a preacher, everybody kind of expects you to be like the
scholar.
Well, not just a scholar, but they expect you to just be the holy one or something. I don't know. Or always want to talk about scripture, et cetera, et cetera. And I started to work with this young lady, and she had lost a child at birth. And she said to me, like we introduced ourselves, she told me her name, and then she said, I'm angry at God. And it was almost like, oh. Now, I was too young to know what she was doing, but she was looking for somebody to tell her why she shouldn't be angry at God and encourage her. But I didn't know. I was 19. And I thought, how can you be angry at God? Because I was so different. But I remember watching her be so bitter every day about everything. What she went through was horrific. Horrific. I can't imagine. She was so bitter. And then throughout my life, I've seen other people go through very similar, like exactly similar situations and give it to God and not be bitter and be better. And the thing I am now is I get excited to see people's testimony about what God can do and what God will do. I get excited about it because like we have people in our administration group and in our social media and in our own organization. And when they get news about something, the first thing I want to say to them is, I cannot wait to hear your testimony when God brings you through this. Because I do feel that way. I cannot wait. And I hope that you guys today can get to that too and say to God, I cannot wait to give you all the praise and glory for how you're going to fix this. I'm excited to do that. I know you're going to do it, and I want to give you the praise and glory. And then I want to challenge you, do it. Every time he does something big, small, or in between, give him glory.
Praise him for it.
Tell people, God did this. Don't be afraid to say that. God does things every day.
That's exactly right.
So that's it for this week, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to link that information below, and any scriptures we talked about I will have in here. And I want to give you a little update on card ministry. We're doing fantastic. We have mailed out so many cards. We have another, 37 going out before this video. And your turn to sign. So there's another 37 going. But here's what we need if you're interested in helping with the card ministry. We need some cards that are not birthday or holiday specific at this point. Right. We have a big bank of that. But what we've been doing is we've been trying to, if you don't know about our card ministry, we accept cards that you guys make. We do prefer handmade cards because that's what we do. So if you want to send in some handmade cards, 1, 2, 10, 30, it doesn't matter. And then we use them in our ministry. And we also send them to other people who have card ministries so that they can have cards in their ministry as well. So if you have someone or if you have a card ministry and you would like to receive some cards, let us know. You can do that by emailing us at maymayheartcards@gmail.com. The other thing I want to mention to you, which is really a blessing, is I had someone that we send cards to for her ministry contact me and say, I am so grateful. I have been sick for a week or two, haven't been able to make any cards, and thought I wouldn't get to mail any out. And then we were able to send her 25 in the mail that she was able to do.
That's awesome.
It's such a blessing. I know it may sound like nothing to you guys, or, I mean, whoever's watching it may think, well, that's nothing. It's a card. But sometimes just that little word from people taking the time to just write on a piece of paper and mail it to your house just makes all the difference in the world.
It's just a word of encouragement.
So we appreciate your support on that. We love you guys. I hope you have a great week, and hope you have a wonderful Sunday. And we will see you again next week at the same time.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.